world where space and time are intertwined, one man dared to challenge the status quo. His name? Dayton Miller. His weapon of choice, a flute. But not just any flute. This instrument held the power to unleash the ether, a pervasive medium once thought to fill the universe. Miller, a physicist by trade, a musician at heart, discovered a harmonic resonance within the ether. He found that his flute, when played with precision, could manipulate this elusive medium. His melodies, a symphony of science, had the potential to shift the very fabric of reality. However, a sinister force lurked in the shadows. The Einsteinian.
All right. Hello, lads and ladettes. Welcome, everyone. We're going to join the lads over on Twitter, see what they're up to. But before I do, tomorrow, quick reminder, Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, I believe, Shane and I are going to be debating some Czech lads on the celestial theodolite and the null hypothesis. So tune into that tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm almost positive that's the time. So that should be a good time. Let's tap in with the lads.
You got, Rumple, or are you going to bring something to the table?
No, I'll drop down a listener, but before I go,
good. Okay.
Can I say one thing though?
No.
I like how they always have to complain about either being muted or can I just say one thing? It's like I don't know. You could have gotten half a sentence out, maybe. You could have maybe said something.
I'm just gonna tell you, I don't have time for that. Congratulations, you don't want to fucking believe me.
But wait, after I piss off the whole room,
I can't prove anybody.
Let me have one more thing.
I don't need to. Why would they lie? Fuck you. That's why.
Either prescribed to either model. Like I can't belong in either camp. And this is the thing. And it's because we don't understand this place. We really, really don't. This is why they've had things like Operation Fishbowl. Because even the fucking people in charge are like, fuck, what the fuck is this? Can we break it? Can we blow it up? Can we get out of this fucking dome? Why is there a fucking dome? You guys, do you understand that we are in a fucking cage? That you are cattle? That we are all a product being raised in a prison planet, right? That this is a
dude. I
this is
can't
some
even
sort of
get them
technology.
to think the Earth is flat. You gonna try to convince them they're cattle? That's, you know what I mean?
I know. I'm the super crazy one in here. Like I'm the craziest motherfucker in this room,
dude.
guaranteed.
I guarantee you, I'm not far behind you.
Why can't you just accept that you're chattel, your property, you were created for a purpose, and find that purpose?
Dude, I keep on trying to tell everybody that they're slaves, but they don't want to believe me.
Yeah, just be a good slave.
Like there's layers of authority, right? Like when you're in jail.
Who's your guys'
like
favorite slave master?
Dude, that's
like when you're in jail.
Kunta Kinte.
Like
everybody seems to be cool with
but in that jail, outside that jail, you have the rest of the world, and that's being policed by police officers and military. If you go beyond that, then it would be like gods or something, right? Like there's different hierarchies, right? So we're somewhere in that chain, right? So everyone has their archons, everyone has their owners, their fucking slave masters, and we just have to understand that there's structure to this, right? The ants don't know how fucking big this fucking universe is from their perspective, you know, like we're kind of like that, right? We are a product here. We are a crop. We are being raised to be harvested, and they're doing it all the time. I think that's pretty I mean, it's like the biggest trade there is trafficking, human trafficking. You know, why is that? Why is it that we are so important?
Yo, do you think they're trafficking children on a flat Earth or a globe Earth? Do you think?
So I think they do it on either one. They could do it on either way.
So child trafficking is not mutually exclusive. Then you would say
not mutually exclusive.
Yo, you guys want to hear some shit that's mutually exclusive AF?
Let's hear it,
dude. My boy Brian busted out the old.
Rude, y'all. You gotta let him finish, no?
Finish what? His non-point about nothing nobody cares about.
Yeah, but you know he's getting it out. He's venting. We gotta be patient with them.
He can do it in another place. Anyway,
Go ahead,
So,
retard bear. Go ahead.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So, back to what I was saying. My boy Brian busted out the old calculator, did some trigonometry on eclipses, and what he found was that the true positions of the sun and the moon don't actually change elevation in the way that they say they do. So if we live on a globe, as the globe rotates away, or if it was a geocentric globe, as the sky rotates around the geocentric globe, there would be a physical elevation change in the true positions of the stars and the sun and the moon. And what he found with the eclipses is that basically by using the shadow length of the eclipse and the angle for every observer along that line of the shadow, you could multiply that out doing arctan rise over run essentially. And or no, I'm sorry, that would be the regular tangent because you have the angle and the distance. But anyway, you just do that simple trig function and that gives you an altitude. And what the altitude came out to every time was, what was it, Shane? 6,200 something.
10-ish, yeah, miles.
Crazy, dude. What's that the altitude of again if you were to have like a radius of vision that we've been saying?
Right, yeah, that would be the max distance if everyone could see in a hemisphere, 3959.
Fantastic, dude.
Crazy. But also,
Yes.
what's distinctly absent from all that data was the geometric Earth drop. Like, the difference between flat and globe over like 50 kilometers would be 200 meters. We're saying that the sun and the moon specifically lack that difference, and it just goes horizontal over a flat plane.
Yeah.
Shane, let me ask you this.
Rate of curvature, see that happens over so many miles, guys? What is that rate of curvature? I forget.
Well, the rate of curvature over 7 million meters would be 4 million meters. So there would be a 4 million meter change in elevation, or in other words, it would come out to like 54 degrees, something like that. So it would be like a real 54-degree change rather than an apparent one. So what we found is that the conceptual and terrestrial sphere models are based on apparent elevation changes and not physical ones. And that's extremely important because if it's not a physical elevation change for all the observers as they see it traverse that 7 million meters, then what that means is that the light source never actually changes in elevation, and it's just parallel to the ground at all times, making a circle above us.
That's like that the flat earth Netherlands, right? That laser pointer with the backboard that moves backwards. The laser is pointed and it's level, it stays stationary, and the backboard moves and it starts to drop. So it's just like that.
Yep.
I haven't seen that.
Well, I mean, so it's perspective based is what we're saying, and that's the same effect. It makes this thing that travels level over you actually appear to rise and set.
I'm gonna put it up top for you, Alan. I'll tag you in it.
Nice. I'm gonna put a link to the video that Brian just dropped and where you can find all the eclipse data and stuff. So if any of the Globe lads would like to review the data, obviously we are open to peer review.
Are there any globies down there?
Always in the same spot. Isn't that interesting? I guess we're so far away from them, they'll never, ever, ever move. Ever.
Well,
ever,
see,
right?
that would be one way to say it, but the fact is though they map it to negative coordinates and they say that those are physically real, therefore the elevation change is physically real, and irrespective of how far they would be, if the girth were actually a globe or geocentric or turning, that turn based on the actual curvature is mandatory because the whole way the celestial and terrestrial sphere work mathematically is half of the globe drop is the full celestial motion for whatever distance. So they're intertwined trigonometrically. So if there's no physical change in the elevation, then like that's a full wrap. That shows that that's not what's happening in reality at all.
Because that's what we were showing with the regular celestial theodolite with mountain. And our boy Brian just adapted it to, hey, when eclipse happens and the moon technically eclipses the sun, well, if you apply the same true position analysis with some basic trig to get some heights, then you can interpolate and say, hey, where the shape of the Earth underneath these bodies is, and you get flat level plane, specifically absent the required Earth drop for a globe every time.
So I see you, fuck you, and I just have a quick question for Alan. We were talking about mutual exclusivity. So what about that constancy of the speed of light? Isn't that mutually exclusive to one of the models that gets blown up by the other?
Yeah, so there's an aspect of that too, because all of the astronomic measurements are all based off of a constancy. But the speed of light, even measured terrestrially, is c plus or minus v relative to the east-west direction and relative to the latitude. So and it increases in velocity. So if that's the case, then all the things they assert astronomically about the speed of light as like a unit of length over time, would just be physically meaningless if that's what you were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. Sorry, fuck you. Go ahead. I apologize, brother.
Real quick,
No,
Alan,
no, no, it's all good, bro.
I tagged you in that post. Just take a look at it and let me know if that's what you're referring to.
Oh, nice. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll take a look. I'm pulling up the Celestial Theodes stuff for the lads. And then, quick announcement for anyone who has the ability to record stars, we're offering up a $50 bounty per star occlusion video. And the same person can go to, they can use the same peak at different distances at 10-mile intervals. So, say you have a nice clear night and some time on your hands, you could, get as many occlusions at the distance intervals that are allowed. And as long as you can make the measurement fit there, you can collect as many up to $300 in rewards there. So all we need to do is be able to record a mountain peak, and you should center the video at the center of the peak, and you just need to record your latitude and longitude, and we need to know when you start the video. So your recording device has to be synchronized to GPS time. Most devices will create the file name with the timestamp on it with respect to some epoch in the 70s. If that's the case for your device, you're good to go. You don't need to do anything further.
Are you doing that only with mountain peaks, or have you guys had success with like tall buildings or anything like that?
So no success with the tall buildings. The way, like, because it's a ratio of a triangle, like going that far, and then the elevation of the building being so low. Like the highest building I could find is like 200 meters. Once you get so far away from that, it's not like you don't have a distance distinguishably enough to for curvature. Because I think the furthest I went was like 7 or 8 miles away for some building that was like at sea level, and yeah, just it's not worth it for buildings.
TM's this city boy. He's like looking onward. Can I participate? Nah.
He's a
denied.
city boy.
Denied, bro.
I'm offended by that city talk. Shane, let me ask you a question. And I'm going to use a simple language. So what you were saying about this eclipse is that the sun and the moon are basically parallel with themselves. Now, how does this sun and moon play out in its trajectory throughout the year or through cycles of eclipses? Does
Ooh.
it stay parallel?
Yeah, he has the elevation changes. Sorry, I'm answering for Shane. Go ahead.
No, anyone
No, you
can,
got it,
because
dude.
this is actually,
Yeah,
I never thought about it.
Yeah,
You know,
so and part
Go
of the so I just linked it in the space. So if you go to the hold on, I'll put it up in the jumbo. So if you click on the link that I have where it says eclipses 92 underscore eclipses, there's a PDF on there. And if you scroll through that bad boy, he plots out on one of these the change in elevation over the course of a month and how much they how much they actually go up and down relative to one another and all that. So all that information is in there.
dude, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's nuts,
What-
dude.
What a fucking thought. I mean, just thinking about this right now, like them being parallel, and I'm going to use a simple language. We all know the pattern, the figure eight that the sun takes throughout the year, this and that. If we can reverse that and say that the moon does, this is crazy. I got to look into these.
The moon already has its own. It's got a, what's it called, the lunema or something? I forget, something like that. But it does the same thing, except because it's not visible for 3 days.
It's
or
just
whatever,
reversed.
Yo,
it
and
has,
then,
it has an oscillating
Isn't it
gap.
called the
that
Luna
moves.
Lemma?
Yeah,
Luna
I
Lemma?
couldn't remember. It's something like that.
it's
but,
not called that now.
but that's over like over the whole Earth. You're never going to be able to perceive that. You only ever see it like, I mean, if you were to take a picture in your own dome, you could see it if you did it every day for a year or whatever. But you're never going to go observe that. You got to do like time lapse photography over a year to even see the analemma.
Oh, and then on the analemma and sinusoidal motion that's perceived that how we see it, they're the parallel nature of them, and then like going further away from one another during the eclipse, which is how the shadow ends up changing directions and all that. is all predicated on them kind of intersecting when, like, while they're just circling above us. Like the analemma is all perceived. Like that whole, isn't that crazy? It's like we perceive a completely different thing than what is being asserted. Or I'm sorry,
So
what's
can I
measured.
ask, how did this idea or thought come about? Shane or whoever like pulled out their calculator, like that's just it's
Eclipse
fucking
occlusions.
genius.
No, that's our
Yeah.
boy Brian,
Yeah.
but he adapted an idea from the actual genius, or another genius rather. Mike Efron is our boy, our PhD boy in the background, who joined the flat Earth community with this proof at his side. It was like, hey, you know what I was thinking about? How refraction is super gay, and you can never tell the difference with all these corrections, where refraction itself is implying that Earth radius. He's like, you boys are screwed. You'll never be able to tell unless I find a way to remove refraction scientifically using this null hypothesis and a series of falsifications of the globe prediction, where you can use refraction as a direct prediction and then thus negate it because it's wrong every time, and you can see it clearly. And then you can actually see that the globe is a product of a mathematical correction from a model. And then now he's a flat earther. And now we take that method and we apply it. And our boy Brian saw that method and was like, ooh, if a mountain occludes a star, and you can do some trig and get some distances and make some predictions and some comparisons. Doesn't the moon occlude the sun like during an eclipse? Couldn't I do some of the same process and the same math? And that's when he produced the spreadsheet, or mostly this PDF and in the video, and he did the process, a couple of Python scripts, a couple of graphs, and there we go. Turns out the same relationship that we were observing with all the stars and mountain peaks exists between the celestial sun and moon.
I mean, it really doesn't matter what number group you use. You can use your 10s, 12s, 20 at the same, you're always going to get an extra and a number, and the math is always going to be the same. That's just fucking genius.
I don't know what that means, bro.
The numbering system. So if we use a 10 system, a 12 system, a 6 system, it doesn't matter what numbering system we use to do calculations. We just
yeah.
need the number to start with.
Yeah, it'll always be internally consistent with whatever you start with. Yes, correct.
Right. Right. So
So
I'm just saying it. Go ahead.
So yeah, like no matter what metric you would use for it, like if you did like a different base counting system, like
You'll always get the same
Yeah.
answer, just in a different decimal or whatever, different number sequence.
It would be in a different unit,
No.
probably and decimal,
Yeah.
but yeah.
You guys know that meme of like how the flat earther explains the sunset, and it's like a triangle over a stick figure, and it, like as the sun approaches,
I just saw one of the most ridiculous one of those.
Yeah, well, that's like, turns out that's the most accurate description of the stellar relationship with reality that we have created so far. That's exactly how it is. Stars and everything is parallel to a horizontal flat Earth. Who knew?
Who knew?
As above, so below.
The whole globe model is constructed out of the belief that because you observe that, level star field as a hemisphere, that the whole world must be a sphere. And they've constructed that when you don't see the stars in that hemisphere, when they go beneath your feet, but really they've taken the path, the circuit that the stars travel as a circumference around the world, and they made that, oh, that's a circumference, and then they have the star go beneath your feet, so that when it comes back around the next day, if you follow the path of that circle, which is dependent on the length of that circumference, then you have the predictive power to say when it will come back. So a piece of abstract math based on observable hemispheres is the whole globe model. That's what it all comes through. And in reality, you could just have a limit to how far you see, and all the stars are parallel above the Earth. And as you go, you kind of see some appear to rise and set. So you get the appearance of Polaris as you approach the equator.
So, I mean, I know we got to have some globies down there. I'd like to see them come up here and accept to do some of this stuff. What were you offering? $50 per occlusion?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
dude, you think globies are gonna take some
if
of
you
the
live,
money?
so I posted the I didn't realize I didn't include it in the first post, but I included the Celestial Bounty post. So it's up there at the top now. So if you click the Celestial Bounty post, you can read all about the requirements, what the video look like, or what the video should look like. There's a nice moon star occlusion there for reference. So if you can produce that level of visibility at night for recording stars, all we need is your latitude and longitude when you started the recording and what time you started the recording. And most modern devices, as long as they're synced to GPS time, will make the file name the epoch of when the video was started. So you're pretty much good to go. and then you just set up and record. You don't move your device or change directions. Try and center it directly on the center of the peak. And if you have to use a ridge or whatever, that's fine. But just make sure that you can identify the peak as well. So you can use an app or the website Peak Finder, and that'll identify the peak. So as long as you know the peak name, your latitude, longitude, when you started recording, we can do everything else and you can get paid out. So there's a special, this is like a special offer for people that live in the southern hemisphere. There's no restrictions on elevation, as most of you guys will probably be at sea level anyway. So, but we'll take whatever we can get in the south. And then distance from the peak is just 10-mile intervals. So if there's only one peak available, well, guess what, my dude, you get one occluding, or two or three, then you go 10 miles out. Well, you can use that same peak and get it, if you get another occlusion, we'll take that one too as a separate payout. And you can do as many as you like, up to $300 worth. If you live in the north, if you live at sea level, we are paying for $50 for sea level videos in the northern hemisphere as well. Same restrictions for the distance. And I think that's about it. Oh yeah, so you can do east peaks or west peaks. So you can record a star emerging from a peak or a star setting into a peak. Either one doesn't matter.
Where you at, Hellcat? You're launching rockets up into space, man. So I know you can handle this task. Where you at? Where you at?
Hey, Alan, what are you going to do with this data? You're going to start simulating and like different projections and stuff like that?
No, we're just going to plot out the rise over run of the peak that did the occluding and see what model it lines up with the true position of the star. So all of that stuff will be just kind of supplemental data to the original CEL-THEO process and measurements, because there was some outlier measurements and stuff. So we want to know like what's the maximum range, what's the max ratios for how everything works and stuff, and just collect more data on the terrestrial measurements. It's just like, this is purely supplemental at this point. The eclipse stuff needs like refuted or explained, because it's it's over. Like there's nothing coming back from that. There's no physical elevation change. It's always apparent.
That's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, it's 7 million meters. It's 4 million meters a drop. Like, if it's not there, it ain't, that's a wrap. I'll also put a link to a simulator we got. And I see my boy Manus Stone just joined. What up, Stone G?
That he has. Hey, gang, just fighting Elon to keep this thing floating and not crashing. It's insane how the audio cuts out. I think I got it under control, though. But yeah, how are we doing, guys?
Fantastic. I was just giving the lads an update on the CEL-THEO. And,
do I get to see our boy Evan here, our Globe lad friend from last week, who gracefully exited with some homework and now has come back, studied, studious, and ready?
Ooh, goody.
I don't know.
Shit.
How you
Don't
doing?
worry about it, Evan. I'm with you. I'm the only Globey here with these guys. I'm going to convince them all that it's round. Me and you, buddy.
Gang. My mans. Actually, though, I think I got it.
Hey, you got the glow proof? Or you got like you don't need that dude's help. You mean, okay, cool. No, I get you.
Let's start with refraction, yo. We get them every time with refraction. Let's start with that.
Well, just to recap really briefly for Shane and Alan and Stone, thus far, the best globe proof that's been presented has been the existence of an individual's 401k account. So, beat that, guys. Good luck beating that one.
That's not the worst globe
what
proof
the
I've ever
ruck?
heard, to be honest.
I might have to change my stance, man. I need to see more of this.
How about, you want to stick to easy? How about some motion around the sun? Anyone got some evidence of Earth's motion around the sun? Earth's orbital motion, looking for 30 kilometers a second, guys.
That 401k point sounds a lot like Upton Sinclair, doesn't it? Where it's hard to get somebody to understand something when their salary depends on not understanding it.
Right. What do you think?
I'm
Evan?
offended.
Totally.
I'm offended by that.
What do you think, Evan?
Well, you talk to Upton. I don't know, man. I didn't make it up. He did.
You got any motion around the sun, Evan?
What's the question? Motion?
Motion around the sun. We're looking for motion around the sun.
Looking around for evidence
Yeah.
of 30 kilometers a second.
Oh, yeah. Much less than 1,000 miles an hour.
For me, it's just the day-night cycle.
The
That's
day-night.
how I know we're moving around the sun.
Well, if anything, it
model.
would be
Really?
the seasons because I'm talking orbital like motion around the sun. So the Earth isn't.
Did
The
you
day
say I
night is
would
caused by
mean the seasons?
Yeah, because the Earth the day night's caused by sidereal rotation. That's 15 degrees per hour. That's not 30 kilometers a second. I mean, 30 kilometers a second is Earth whipping around the
Yeah.
sun at 66,000 miles per hour.
You got
Wait, what?
rotation.
This
You got
dude, did I answer the
rotation.
question wrong?
No, yeah, you did. You got
No.
rotation, which is the spin of the Earth, and then you got revolution, which is the orbit around the sun.
Yeah, but when did I say, like, what are you contradicting?
No, well, so your interjection made more sense if it would have been talking about the like I was trying to correct your interjection. I'm sorry. Maybe I should have let you make it yourself then.
But we were looking for orbital velocity around the sun, not around itself.
Those are two different speeds. 15 degrees an hour is much slower than 30 kilometers a second.
Yeah, I don't have any numbers. I just have the day-night cycle makes me think the Earth is spinning, and via me thinking the Earth is spinning, it would make more sense for us to be spinning in a ball versus something else spinning around us, because that's a more complex, like, us spinning in a ball is less moving parts. It's the same amount of moving bodies, but why would something be perfectly circling us? It's just as likely that we're perfectly circling it.
So you see the sun come and go, and you figure actually what's happening is the world is spinning in the other way underneath it. And that's a logical deduction to you, absent other context.
Yeah, you got it, Shane. See how you know?
Yes, pretty much. Not absent all of the context. It's that the context, like the way you just stated it, is exactly it. Except I would make my side seem like the more logical side with my tone. How you made yours seem like the more logical side. I would say.
Fair enough.
So you see everything else moving around above us, looking as if it would if we were spinning in a circle, and you think all that shit's doing it all just to make sure we're not thinking that we're spinning in a circle.
Can I check you on? Can I check you on nomenclature and mindset here? The one where you, Evan, the part where you said that seems logical. I'm thinking it's probably more accurate for someone like yourself to say that it seems more sensible than logical, because you're not using any logic to get there. You're just observing, right? It just seems like that would be the more sensible answer to the question at this point on your path, right? Okay, so let's talk about why just for a second. Now, follow me here. We all were brought up. The first thing we ever saw was a globe. The first thing we ever saw when we were like still in our diapers in the bed, you know what I mean? In the big cage they had us in so that we wouldn't crawl around when we were sleeping and stuff. We look up and the mobile is going around and the planets are going around and everything's spinning around. And it's the first thing you ever see before you even see things for what they are, you know what I mean? And then you watch TV even before you go to school, and they show you at the beginning of every movie you see, yo, pictures, da-na-na, here's the Earth spinning in space. And then they show you sci-fi, and then you go to school, and then they say, all right, here's the globe sitting over by the teacher on the desk. And then they show you all this cool stuff in a geophysics text later on in school, and it all jives together, right? This all seems like one cohesive story to you, right? However, let's back this up a second, because it's about when this happened in the time of your life that's crucial. It's the time in our lives when we don't consider that we already know something. All we are is just looking for the answer. We'll talk to anybody who thinks they've got an answer for us because we just want to know what's going on. Somebody gave you a quote answer, right? It's the globe thing. It's the space thing. It's the flying around thing. It's the spinning thing. It's the revolving thing. That's the thing. And it just seems like, okay, that's the first thing you were told. So you ate it up. You accepted it. You never questioned it. And you based your identity off of that, so to speak, your id, if you will, that I'm a member of this hive and we're spinning and we're revolving and that's what's up. Now, years went by. You became an adult. You started to think for yourself. And somebody came by and said, wait a minute. No, you remember that story they told you, like Santa Claus, like leprechauns, like the unicorn, like all those things they told you? Like, shit, man, the globy thing is one of those. And here's proof Okay. But the problem is, when you're an adult, you've got an ego now. You've got this sense of self, this sense of identification, and you base it on everything you think you know. So you have an emotional, personal attachment to that unicorn story they've been giving you since you were in the crib. That's the word I was looking for earlier. So now,
I'm offended.
when they tell you the new story, it doesn't seem sensible at all because it doesn't match up with anything you've been told so far. What happened to your psyche when you became an adult that you are no longer able to take in what could be, and in our case, we're here to assert, is correct information and just change the way you understand reality? What's in the way? What is stopping you from taking that single step? Because you did it a million times in school. You did it when you got to the job. You did it when you went to the bank and they told you about money. You did it when you went to the store and they told you what things are not, or in your food or not our food, or that's not important. But hey, this crap over here is really food and you should eat it. And you did all that. What happened? You know what I mean? That's what I wanted to check you on for mindset and how you got to where you are now, and what to you right now seems sensible when really, you actually need to be looking at what's logical. That's why I stopped you.
Thanks. Kind of half-hearted thanks. I'm more interested in, that's always good to keep an open mind and why I think the paths I think in. But I think it's a better conversation to just tell me why it wasn't sensible, the thing I specifically
Well, that's because
referenced.
you're just not well read enough in current science, and how even from the point of Einstein when he came out and they praised him to the heavens in the
See, I'm not
mainstream.
really interested in what you're saying right now. I'd rather just talk about things, not people.
Well, that's the thing is actually what happened with that person declaring something about reality, and at the same time, the things that were not brought to the front of the news so that you could also see that there are hundreds of scientists who completely disagreed with Einstein at the time. And they published books called 100 Authors Against Einstein. And you've never heard of it, I'm sure. It's because you just were not exposed to the truth.
Do you forget what I originally said? Is that why you won't talk about it?
We were talking about the spin of the day, so it's less intuitive to say that actually the whole Earth is spinning in the opposite direction because all you see is the sun coming and going. It would be basically to assume, oh look, the sun is rising and setting. Oh, it's coming and then there it's going. That's what's causing the approaching of the light and the dimming of the light, right? That's your base position, even absent all other context. Like the scenario when if you're on an island in the middle of nowhere and you knew no one and you saw a sunrise and a sunset, what would you think? You wouldn't think, oh, you know what? The whole Earth is spinning underneath me in the opposite direction of all the motion I see. That's counterintuitive.
Well, you also wouldn't have any reference because the Earth is not spinning underneath our feet. So the reference point is not there, making the thought obsolete. It's instilled, indoctrinated, taught.
No, I think
Insert
it's base.
insert.
If
Oh,
you're a
sorry.
baby and you think about it long enough, for 100 years, you might not figure it out. But
What's that,
if
Alan?
you had some writing and people were studying it longer, you would just figure, hey, I'm in the woods. Everything's still. All the trees are still. Sometimes an animal moves. But if I spin around, everything spins around me. Then you look up at the sky. You don't need to rely on people's work or people's mistakes, or you could come to that conclusion.
But then you'd conclude that literally the whole world revolves around you, as whoever looked up has concluded previous to heliocentrism.
It's called solipsism.
The whole universe
Congratulations.
moves.
Well, that's what everyone assumed all the way through. That's what everyone assumed from ancient technology. That's what all the old ancient flat earth cosmologies were. Geocentrists. The whole world revolves around us. That's what it appears the way that everywhere you look. That's why they had to invent ridiculous theories to just maintain what's called the Copernican principle, which is the philosophical belief that humans aren't at the center. So they do everything in science to make other conclusions to not accept that one. And they call that science.
Are you talking bad about those Greeks?
But they do it out of modesty, Shane. And no, I was going to say, Stone, insert definitions of kinematics and dynamies in there.
Absolutely. And thanks to TM for posting most recently up on the pill there the history of the Universal Pictures CinemaScope, etc., that you're seeing right now, which is nothing but constant subliminal reminder: you live on a globe in space and you're spinning. Don't forget. You know what I mean? It's the first thing you see before you watch every single movie you've ever watched from Universal Pictures. It's the first thing. It's right there in front of you. It's got to be for a reason, and it's not because Universal Pictures likes the globe. You know what I mean? They're about making movies, not being in space and looking at the Earth from far away. Like, seriously. Like you said, you look up at the sky, and that's how you know. But you looked in the wrong direction, or only one direction, I should say. Maybe, perhaps, go look at a really large lake with a really shallow water level to it all the way across. You know what I mean? Something where you can like see their side, you can see this immense flat slab of water in front of you. And if you put, like Alan was talking about, you put the kinematics together and you realize this whole spinning around every 24 hours thing matched up while you're doing 30 kilometers a second around the sun in this other much larger circle, you necessarily should see proof of that on Earth in terms of motion. And what you don't ever see is anything in that lake moving according to a 6-hour sinusoidal cycle, 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, in terms of the vector analysis of us actually moving through space with what they say is going on. That the water itself should be shifting from side to side with a 24-hour periodicity, 6 hours to the left and then back to the middle, 6 hours to the right and then back to the middle, because there's an acceleration there of 2.1 centimeters per second squared on average. So it actually gets higher than that, where the water should be pushed to the side in like transverse to the direction of our travel, our net direction of travel. And you just don't see it because it's not there, because we're not moving, dude.
I never asked someone who thinks the Earth is flat. Would you care to tell me what your best explanation for tides is?
Oh yeah, for sure. You should look up a guy named, what is it?
Well,
Fake
before you
Flip.
even answer that, Stone, what would be your
Sure.
explanation for tides?
Oh
Mainstream
man.
model, dude. The moon.
Yeah, but what does the mainstream model say? Do you know?
I mean, it
It pulls
explains
on Earth's
something that
water.
I don't understand. Seems pointless because you seem to only believe in the globe because that's the current thing. Like Stone was saying, everybody else does it, so you want to be part of it too. Like
So you
None of
think
my arguments have been
believing
that.
in flat Earth, you just hop on board.
None of my
the
arguments have been
moon,
that though.
guys,
I've never
give me one
appealed
second.
to.
Evan,
so you think the
how,
moon is
how
the
old are you?
sole influence on top?
Evan, how old are you, Evan? If you don't mind me asking.
28.
You're 28? Got you. All right, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to get some age behind
Well,
the
you haven't
voice.
really offered a whole lot of proof why you believe in the globe or anything like that. And you say you think it's spinning because of day and night cycles, which really wasn't all that great of an explanation. I mean, do you got anything to kind of back up your stance on anything?
Well,
Or do you
I
want to
think,
learn what your theory says about tides?
yeah, I think that's why you asked about the tides, because although there's
Yeah, I'd
no
like
lake
someone else.
motion for that, the tides are said to be caused by Earth's motion. So I think that's why he was asking about that. Shane, do you know anything about said tide?
I know the heliocentric model usually. So what they predict is actually two completely different things. You have the equilibrium tidal theory, which is simplified, very constant. They're saying all the tides are caused by the Earth, the sun, and the moon's gravity and pull on the Earth. You get solar and lunar tides. So you get this semi-diurnal tidal bulge on either side, a solar bulge and a lunar bulge, and the moon and this Earth hula hoops through that tidal bulge, and that's how you get the tides. That's what equilibrium tidal theory says. But that assumes constant velocity, no continents, an ocean responds instantly to all gravitational forces, and that there's no motion and that there's no topography. So there's a lot of assumptions in that theory. It doesn't actually predict anything. They don't do anything with it. That's kind of like the fantasy story, how they tell what works for the dynamic tidal theory, meaning what's actually working. So the other one that actually works is the dynamic tidal model, which takes into a present, continents, Earth, the ocean basins shape, the underlying topography, the inertial of actual water, and then it uses the tides as shallow water, which interact with the sinusoidal predictions, and that's how you get actual tidal prediction. So the model actually just uses what's there. So the rising and falling of all the tides were in accordance with the sinusoidal patterns of the sun and the moon, and they use that to interpolate and predict and make sinusoidal predictions through different interpolations, and nothing to do with gravity and the sun and the moon. Now, if you go through the actual math for what is the equilibrium tidal theory and how the sun and the moon are pulling on the earth through gravitational and centrifugal forces, you find out that actually, even though the sun and the moon are separated by such a vast distance, that the moon exerts a 2.1 or I think 2.1 tidal force, lunar tidal acceleration, which means it's that much more exerting a force than the sun. And that actually, what they say that when the highest high is actually spring and neap tides, so then the highest high is spring and neap, and those don't coincide with any proximity of the sun and moon. What they actually coincide with is the moon's phases. And what's the moon's phases? Well, it actually that determines the solar and lunar proximity. So what they've done is guide the gravitational theory under what is undoubtedly a dynamic cause of the sun and the moon's proximity over a flat Earth, because when they coincide together, you get the highest tides. What they say mathematically in the gravitational world is that actually that's constructive gravitational wave interference, and they mathematically add the gravitational force of the sun and the moon together into one, and they say that's what's causing the neap tide. That's the actual definition. Now, you asked what actually causes tides, because we had to first explain what your theory says and how that actually doesn't work. The problem with all this is that the actual high tide doesn't correspond with the sun or the moon's proximity over Earth at all. It's actually a 90-degree offset. So you have if it's actually proximity of the sun or the moon, then it would follow the sun and the moon. You would have an actual tidal bulge, and in reality, there is no tidal bulge. That's only part of equilibrium tidal theory. How it actually works is you have these points called amphidromic points or tidal nodes, which are spots of zero tidal amplitude. So like there's no fluctuation from high tide to low tide. The high tide kind of fluctuates around these amphidromic points or tidal nodes, and then you get the highest areas of tidal amplitude around like the coast, and where you get highest highs and the lowest lows. And what actually drives the amphidromic points, nobody knows. And there's someone in published a paper with equilibrium tidal theory, said it actually has to do with Coriolis in the winds somehow reach down from the sky and cause the amphidromic points. But that's probably not the cause. We don't actually know what the cause of the amphidromic points, but we know those are the physical driving factor on Earth of tidal amplitude. And we can make an argument for the nature of the proximity of the sun and the moon when you have sort of, an electric sun and a magnetic moon, and then when they're coinciding, you get electromagnetic interference coincided by, say, the Elias effect during eclipses, which is a peculiar effect this also has on pendulums. But then we can say that's what actually causes high tides, when we actually say that water responds to magnetism, and even the salt water has the highest tidal reaction. So that's how we say the magnetism or this proximity of the sun and the moon would actually be a more convincing tidal force for the dynamic cause. What do you think about that, Evan?
I think right at the end is where you stopped completely losing him, Shane. I mean, let's just put it to him in a simplistic way on how the mainstream is not correct. And here's how you know. A skill testing question, Evan. Do you know of a freshwater lake anywhere, regardless of size, that has a tidal schedule? Because if you do, then you would be the first one to find one. And that is because gravity is not a factor. If it were a factor, it would be affecting all bodies of water, not just oceans.
What do you think, Evan? Cat got your tongue?
What's the question?
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, he was actually answering your question, if you were paying attention.
Yeah, you said you asked about tides, and I wanted to answer it. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like your explanation. I'll have to do some research. I don't think it's necessary to first go into the globe model, because you did kind of start losing me when I just asked you a question and your immediate thing is to say something else. And it's like, I'm listening to you, but I can't. I mean, I'm not talking for 4 minutes uninterrupted when people ask me questions.
Exactly. You weren't able to follow all of that. And we're all right with that. And I hope it did spur you on to actually go and get some real answers. You know, go check out amphidromic points and a guy named Fake Flip on YouTube. Although I can't seem to remember currently what his buddy's channel is the Aussie guy who did all that stuff about southern rotation. You guys remember that dude? I can't remember his name right now. Anyways, Fake Flip has a 3-parter on his YouTube channel talking all about the causes of tides, and he does a beautiful job explaining all this stuff. You'd love it.
Yeah, but you ask what we think causes the tides, and I had to first say what I don't think causes the tides, what everyone else in the world thinks causes the tides, and then I
for
explained
sure.
what I think and how that differs from what I just said. Thought it
Oh,
was relevant.
totally.
Although I
Context
get
is
the
Why? Why do you
I
have
get the
to?
point. Well, I get the point of talking for 4 minutes when you ask me a question. I mean that's legit.
But why do you have to say something other than the answer to the question? Like, why do you feel you have to do that when I ask you a question?
Yeah,
I feel like that
What I
just
gave was
slows
not.
everything down.
No, that was all my required answer. I had to give all that. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I'm asking why do you have to give all that?
because it's a very complicated subject, and a couple words ain't going to cut it.
Exactly.
Hey, Evan, for you to have comprehension, what do you need?
Perception? I don't know.
You
Consciousness?
need understanding. You need to understand something so you can comprehend something. Would you agree upon that? So
Yeah.
the reason he tried to explain this to you is so you would have context. You would have something to reference because we are assuming here that you don't have the context or the reference, the substance to comprehend. So now hopefully you have more understanding so you can get more comprehension. Does that answer the question?
I appreciate you talking down to him in my stead, though. That was cool.
What'd you ask me at the end?
I'm sorry. I apologize. No disrespect.
Did you ask me something at the end? I couldn't hear you.
No, that was a statement. No, not a question.
Evan, I have a question for you. So if the Earth isn't curving, then what is it?
Not a sphere, not a ball.
Right, exactly. So you can shine a laser 12 miles, and there's 100 feet of missing curvature, right? Because in 12 miles there's 100 feet. That's globe math. So if there's no curve, then the Earth is what? It's pretty simple.
You already asked me this. You just asked me the same question.
No, Brian asked you, but I'm so. What is so difficult about that for you? And then
I'm unconvinced by these videos.
Right. Okay.
What?
And then so the other question is, what is the medium of space? It's our other favorite question in this room.
What kind of space? Outside, outer space?
What is the
Beyond
medium of
ionosphere?
space? What do quote unquote spaceships use to propulse themselves off of?
That's which question you want me to answer?
I just want to know what the medium of space is.
It would be
under
it's
your
what?
model.
Man, what? What do you ask a question? What's the medium of space?
It's just wild. They come in here and they want to fight about shit, and they.
No, you can't. You keep run on
Simple,
something.
simpler and more direct question. He's asking
Yeah, and
you.
stop talking when you ask a question.
He's asking you essentially: is space, outer space, a pure vacuum, or is it something else?
Is space a vacuum?
I would say no, but 99. Yes, but no. Mostly, but not completely.
Can anybody here? Can you be mostly but not completely pregnant? Is that a thing?
Touche.
That's hilarious.
In 2025, you can identify as a lot of shit.
Yeah, I guess.
Mostly, somewhat, kind of pregnant.
Okay. Nick doesn't like you absolutist, so I'll say no for Nick because he doesn't like when people talk like that.
So, according to your model, space is a 10 to the negative 17 torr perfect vacuum, a much more perfect vacuum than your Dyson vacuum cleaner. Now, imagining that propulsion can happen in that kind of scenario is totally wild, and really, requires the 4-year-old mind of yours to have been, books about outer space and stuff, because to even think that a rocket could propel off of a vacuum is wild. It's totally wild.
You know what's more like incredulous is that Earth's atmosphere is down here, one atmosphere, and then up there next to the almost vacuum, it's thin and just.
I
Right.
think
That's
we're
the
cracking
harder
the
one to
surface,
believe.
So
gentlemen.
here we go.
What's
The rocket propelling is
So think,
what's incredible?
that's a bad argument.
so you know what's incredible about that is that like we're going to tell you is that is the only example of a pressurized system next to a vacuum without a container. So a Coca-Cola can, an airplane, hot air balloon, all of these pressurized systems, scuba diving gear, all of these pressurized, a vac chamber, all of these pressurized systems have a, wait for it, Brian, you want to tell them what all of those pressurized systems have?
It's a container, but here's the thing, man. You gotta let the guy talk too. So Evan,
He doesn't give a fuck. He's just fucking with us.
hey, Water.
Nah, Evan's a nice
I care
lad.
if you. I
Oh,
care
yeah,
if you cut me
okay.
too.
Sounds, sorry. Sounds like he doesn't care.
So Evan, you said something was incredulous. What exactly is that we don't know?
I think I used that word in like the wrong tense, but like his incredulousness would be more valid if he was talking about what I mentioned, because the rockets in space, I don't see why you would think there'd be a medium for rocket propulsion. Do you think planes on Earth are mostly using the air behind them to push off of when they're rocket engine
Yes, a
planes?
plane needs air, a boat needs water, a car needs the road. A medium is required for propulsion.
Yes, I do.
No, it's
They
not.
do. Yes, airplanes move air. That's why they propel. Yes, that's how airplanes work. But
So
You have to have a brain to think.
could you replicate this on Earth? Could you make a vacuum chamber on Earth to do your own experiment to find out who's right about this?
yes,
Yep, and it's
Yeah,
called
they
Dyson.
actually have.
Dyson.
Brian put one up top with flies inside of a vacuum chamber, and the flies can't fly.
Yeah, I put.
No shit, the flies can't fly.
Why?
Yeah, but
Sorry.
how about but you can't
Why
have
can't they?
propulsion.
It's not the same thing. One's lift. Rockets don't use lift in outer space.
Dude, how do you think they're?
They
Dude,
both need air. Is the point?
how do you think
No,
the
they
rocket
don't.
gets a direction?
I got a question. Well,
Offsetting itself with rudders,
hold
with
on,
propeller rudders.
hold
It's
on,
got to
Evan.
squirt out the other way.
Rudders? What are the rudders doing, bro?
Hey, Nick, hold on, wait, hold on, Evan.
It
Hold
depends
on.
what way you.
They gotta
If
have a
we
medium to work.
if we use bees, because bees don't fly like and I just want you guys to think about this. I know no one has the answer, maybe you do. But if we use a bee instead of a fly in this experiment in a vacuum, bees and flies, they have different mechanisms in let's say levitation.
It won't work. You want to know why? Because it turns out flies are the only ones that can survive this kind of environment. It was freaking kind of trippy that they live.
That's
Wait, this
interesting.
guy, he's under the impression that a rocket doesn't need air. So yesterday a rocket launched. It was one of Bezos' rockets, right? And then the return piece of it was returning back down to the Earth. How did it slow its descent to the Earth to land on the platform in the middle of the ocean?
Okay. Thank you for asking a clear question. Now, before I answer, let me tell you why flat Earth is wrong. Hold on. Let me get my journal. Give me a couple seconds.
Dude, I like
It's
you,
valuable
Evan.
context. It's valuable context.
If the Earth is flat, therefore
he's
non-sequitur.
he was
Okay,
joking
let me answer
around.
the question.
He
Let
was
me answer the
japing with
question
us,
about
boys.
Elon.
Yeah, answer that, please.
All right. So Elon's got this supercomputer called Dojo, and it's like a super AI, and it controlled the mechanism and the perfect exactly.
For
You guys
sure.
get
Well,
that?
definitely. When SpaceX landed that rocket on the water, that video was not AI. I mean, it just didn't.
It's not the AI. It's what the flames are propelling against. Is what is the point of the question.
Oh, we got Rocket Boy in here, Hellcat.
Hello. Sorry.
He's a rocket connoisseur, man. He can tell us how everything can fly without a medium.
So I posted an image in the chat. I can put it up.
Hellcat's back. This is great.
There it is.
Wait, didn't any of them answer the question? How did the rocket slow its descent down to Earth if the rocket is not dependent on a medium?
A parachute.
All right, lads and ladettes, I'm going to wrap up for the night. Shane and I have a debate tomorrow. Don't want to stay up too late, so I'm going to call it now while I'm getting kind of tired. See you guys tomorrow, and then of course on